Hello, you're listening to Hugo Talks. Okay, so we have a plethora of script-written media stories about sleep disorders in the last few days. If you didn't realise, the media and the pharmacia companies are in cahoots and want to turn the public into hypochondriacs, which is a person who worries excessively that they are ill or will become ill. So you keep going back to them and getting their products. Here we see, all in the last day or so, a psychologist's guide to getting a good night's sleep, exhausting search for solutions to UK's sharp rise in tiredness. Kim Kardashian admits she cries herself to sleep while talking about challenges of parenting. Red flag sign of common sleep disorder that could lead to devastating disease. Pharmacist warns against popular sleep aid that can cause nightmares and weight gain. Elon Musk says he's upped the sleep to 6 hours per night and that his old routine hurt his brain. And 7 reasons you keep waking up at night. Oh, and sleep apnea, lack of sleep linked to damage in brain. So a whole load of sleeping stories, the satanic media imprinting sleep disorder into the minds of the masses. Now, sleep is an interesting subject. Sleep was described by Jesus in the Bible many times as similar to being dead. When he brought Lazarus back to life, he spoke of Lazarus who had been dead for a few days. He said that Lazarus was asleep and he was going to awaken him. Jesus' disciples then responded that sleep was good because it would help him get well. But Jesus then plainly told them, Lazarus is dead. Notice that Jesus stated emphatically that Lazarus was dead, but at the same time he described death as a condition like sleep. There's another instance when Jesus is brought to a girl who is dead and he again states she is sleeping, Matthew 9:24, and the people there laughed at him, but she then came back to life. There are many mentions in the Bible associating sleep with death. When someone dies, right, people say he has been put to rest. Rest in peace. When you sleep, you could say that the flesh is resting, right? You lose consciousness when you fall asleep. And in my opinion, that's when you enter the realm of spirits. Now, psychologists will say something different. They will tell you, it's your subconscious. You're dreaming about what happened to you during the day. They will have an explanation, a theory, probably something around electrical impulses in the brain, but it's just a theory, just like they do with everything else. Let's face it, psychologists never really cure you. They claim to manage whatever the problem is, and that management will usually be to medicate you with some pharmacia. They attempt to manage the problem. They don't cure the problem. In my opinion, sleep is when you enter the spirit realm. And as referenced in the Bible, it is similar to death. You are in the spirit realm. It's just that when you're dead, you just don't wake up and come out of that spirit realm. You have left the material world. There is much talk in the Bible of visions as well, coming from dreams, prophets, and generally a lot of talk about the interpretations of dreams. Scientists and modern psychology act just like the media. They want to direct you away from God. They want to try and explain everything. Their job is to try and rule out God so that you are then influenced to not believe in it, rendering you a sitting duck for demonic attacks. Now, when I talk about the satanic media and demons, people automatically start thinking of Hollywood movies, paranormal horror movies, and all that guff. That's completely exaggerated stuff to draw you away from the everyday battle that I believe you have in your everyday life with temptation, with sin. What does it say? It's very clear in the Bible. Ephesians 6:12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places, right? You're wrestling against the spiritual every day and every night. Many are being fooled into thinking it's a physical thing only. No, where it's at is in the spiritual. It's not about controlling you materially or physically. It's about controlling you spiritually. It's about taking control of your soul, and that has eternal ramifications. When you see all of these media stories, the tittle-tattle, the provocations, the shock stories created to cause outrage, as I've said before, this is all white noise. It's all static to distract you from Jesus, to get you to focus on silly gossip. It's all meaningless to draw you into their material world. It's all about getting you to engage, and then many times to provoke you, to provoke a reaction. So you fall, so you fail, so you end up corrupting yourself. The media provide you with daily pantomimes so you don't wake up from the spell. A spell that they have been casting over the masses for a long, long time. So as it says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness. Not against flesh and blood, not against the material, the physical, but we wrestle against the ethereal, the spiritual. And when you sleep, I believe you are in the spiritual realm. As Jesus said, is very like death. When your body is at rest, you enter into the spiritual realm. And this is what dreams are, in my opinion. You can take it or leave it, it's up to you, but this is my opinion. But I believe dreams are where the spiritual realm interacts with you. And depending on how much you are connected to God, how much of the Holy Spirit is within you, then that will depend on what your dreams are like and what you have in them dreams. They may be prophetic dreams. They may be helpful dreams, guiding you into the right direction, or vice versa, they could be the opposite. It says here in Numbers 12:6, and he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. There are many instances of this. So, of course, what type of dream you may have is dependent, I believe, on how connected you are to God. A lot of the people out there at the moment in the world have no interest in the Bible or Jesus. Now go back a few years, I wasn't thinking in the way I do now. And I've always suffered with nightmares. I mean, even as a child, I would sleepwalk a lot. And this continued throughout my life. But since the last year and a half, things have calmed down a lot since I've been reading the Bible and really getting into it and making these videos and talking about it. I've noticed a big difference. Now, if you are devoid of belief, if you lack faith or have no faith at all, then when you enter the spiritual realm of dreams, then negative influences, I believe, will come into those dreams much, much more. I think they will always be there to a certain extent, but their power over you in those dreams will be much stronger if you have no faith. And what I feel they prey on the most is your fears. When people have nightmares, right, it's always about something that they are particularly, specifically afraid of. I mean, you might wonder, why is my brain doing this to me? Why am I putting myself through these scary dreams? They seem to be personalized to scare me. Well, in my opinion, your body's not doing that to you. It's the demonic in the spirit realm of dreams coming in and tapping into your fears. They know what buttons to push and they manifest them in your dreams. I don't know if they can appear in your dreams, but they could inhabit characters, recognizable people in your dreams and conduct and orchestrate the storyline, directing the nightmare to attack, to home in on your specific fear, your specific weakness, so you awake more afraid of it. And then that fear then becomes more tangible in your day-to-day life. The nightmare helps to increase your specific fear, which then crosses over into your waking life, turning it into perhaps a phobia of some kind. It states in the Bible that you should not fear. It says to fear the Lord, yes, but otherwise do not fear anything else. And the reason is because fear is detrimental to you. The spirit of fear causes us to weaken our resolve and shrink back. The Spirit of God enables us to overcome whatever adversity or trouble there is. The Bible makes it very clear that fear causes your mind and judgment to be clouded, leading you to make decisions that you wouldn't have made if you had a clear head about the situation. It's easier to steer you down a wrong path when your mind is full of fear. Fear weakens you and impacts on you negatively. It inhibits you, it makes you ill. In scripture, right, Satan and demons prominently involved themselves with spiritual darkness. They provoke, they cheat, they trick people, they terrorize people. All of this is in the stories in the Bible, and the reason is to control you, to manipulate you, to weaken you, to render you under their control. And in my opinion, in dreams, they can pinpoint your deepest fears and then exaggerate and magnify them. And this then turns your fears into real life phobias or trigger points if you allow them to. It's not just fears, it can be much more subtle than that. It could be ways of encouraging you to sin in your everyday life. A demon may tempt you with lust. You may see someone attractive and succumb to a lustful or romantic thought. You may then dismiss that thought, but find later at night when you're sleeping that lust comes again back into your mind and runs in the dreams in the spiritual realm. You might be married. You have dreams about getting intimate with someone you find attractive at work, perhaps. Then that in turn, when you wake up, makes you think more about it, therefore tempting you to possibly make it happen for real in your day-to-day life, which could result then in you possibly destroying your marriage and family, which in turn could make you depressed, sad and ill, turn to drinking and more sin, and sin then leads to destruction. There's loads of examples. Everybody has their own personal fears, weaknesses and things they are tempted by. I'll give you an example of me. Although I don't get the nightmares I used to, but one I still get is, I wouldn't call it a nightmare, but I get these dreams where I am very impatient in the dream. I'm waiting in queues, people around me are very slow, and I get very, really frustrated, and I can feel myself getting angrier and angrier in the dream, and then something innocuous happens, and in the dream I completely lose it. Now, this can be a weakness of mine in certain situations. I can be very impatient. I don't like queues, and I can get wound up in those situations. Now, in my old way of thinking, I could have had that dream and I wouldn't give it a second thought. But then, let's just say, the very next day, I could get in a traffic jam or a queue and then someone annoys me, and so without knowing, that dream might influence me to lose it or react in a certain way because it's conditioned me to think that way. Do you know what I mean? And now I look at it differently. I believe that the dream is latching on to one of my weaknesses. It's exaggerating a certain characteristic, a negative characteristic, and it wants to see it manifest in the material world, which will then get me to sin, to do something bad. So now, if I have a dream or a nightmare or whatever, I look at it from this perspective, the perspective of, is this coming from a negative place or a positive place? And what is this dream trying to influence me to do? I take note of these things, and with the case of losing it in a traffic jam or a queue, I make sure if that situation arises, then I must keep my cool, right? That's not to say that there are positive dreams, right? I have had dreams from many years ago, which at the time I didn't understand at all. They were very, very vivid dreams. I would call them at the time high resolution dreams because of the detail in them. Just everything in them was so incredibly detailed. And I can remember two dreams I had, which were both very close to each other, one night after another, years and years ago. And I didn't understand them at all at first, but I remembered every single detail of them. And it's only now recently that I've gone, oh, hang on, I get it now. That's what it meant. It was telling me about something that was going to happen in the future, a personal thing to me. So that was interesting to me. I mean, I only came to that realization last week. So I'm not sure yet what to make of it really, but that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk about dreams. And seeing all of these stories in the media talking about sleep, many of the stories talking about people not getting to sleep. Of course, many people these days are on medication, which is going to open them up to things in the spirit realm. And on top of that, having no faith. They become sitting ducks for manipulation in their dreams. And fear is, I believe, the main strategy for the demonic to influence you in your sleep, to exaggerate your fears so that it weakens you in your day-to-day life. You become more afraid. When really you should wake from that nightmare and realize and analyze it and work out that they are targeting a specific fear. And then you should realize that that particular thing is something you need to be wary of and take control over in your day-to-day life. It's not just the satanic media that is influencing people in the material world. You also, I believe, need to be aware of the spiritual realm, which is another place where you can be taunted and tempted by the enemy. As already stated, this is for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness. Now, you may think I'm as crazy as a coconut. That's up to you. But I'm interested in your experiences in regards to dreams. If you want to share your experiences, leave a comment below. And here's a couple of verses to end with. Ecclesiastes 5:3. For a dream cometh through the multitude of business, and a fool's voice is known by a multitude of words. Which means when men's minds are distracted and oppressed with too much business in the day, they are frequently disturbed with confused and perplexed dreams in the night. Meaning they have become too bound to the material world, neglecting their spiritual calling. And another is Psalm 4:8. I will both lay me down in peace and sleep, for thou, Lord, only makest me dwell in safety. As always, thanks for listening. Thank you for your time. Come and subscribe to the website hugotalks.com if you want to be notified of all videos I upload. And I'll see you later.